You are now listening to CTR Media Network.
The family, CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show. CTR Media Network.
Welcome to another powerful episode of CTR Media Network TV. We're honored to sit down with Philippa Gamse, a global recognized digital marketing strategist, a certified management consultant who has helped over 5,000 businesses uncover hidden profits, slash wasted spending, and use web analytics to fuel real growth without overhauling their entire strategy. With over 25 years of experience and clients across North America, Egypt, and the Middle East, Philippa's approach is clear, results-driven, and refreshingly jargon-free. Her insight has led to new revenue streams, product launches, and business turnarounds simply by leveraging the gold mine hidden in your website data. Whether you're a podcaster, entrepreneur, or content creator, this episode will change how you view your digital presence. So if you're wondering where your website is leaking money and how to stop chasing vanity matrix, then this is a wake-up call. And we are going to dive right into today's topic, how you can unlock hidden profits, how digital analytics can save or make you thousands. With our special guest, listen, welcome to the show, Philippa Gamse. Welcome to the show.
Amazing intro. Thank you.
Oh, you are most welcome. Listen, hey, we just created the intro based on the amazing work you've been doing. You just ain't never think about it before. But anyway, we're very impressed with what you have been managed to do over this extensive period of time and being able to help over like 5,000 businesses. That's not a small feat. And helping us as business owners or entrepreneurs be able to see the blind spots that we have dealing with our website. Because most of the time when you're an entrepreneur, we know we need to have a website. We know we need to have a place where they can go buy things and all this. But you know what? We don't ever talk about the website analytics, what we should do in the back end of the website, and how, if we don't do it correctly, it can leave money on the table. So my question to you is, we have blind spots that we don't know about. So what would you say to an entrepreneur who have not thought about what's going on in their back end with their website?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I actually read a stat last week, couldn't believe it. 40% of businesses, nearly 40% of businesses still don't have any analytics, which is a huge amount. Huge amount. And the thing is, you're talking about blind spots, right? In my book, if you have a website that's got any role to play in your business, which most websites do these days, right? Mm-hmm. And you aren't looking at what's going on with that website in terms of that data, the analytics data, then you are shooting in the dark. You're running blind, right? With everything that you're putting into it, because you don't have any idea. People sometimes say to me, can you look at my website and tell me what you think? And I say, no. Not because I want to be obstructive, but because it wouldn't do you any good. Because just looking at a website, you can say, I think this website looks horrible. I think it's lovely. Either could be fine, could be correct, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know whether that's getting any visitors, and you don't know what those visitors are doing.
Well, that is so right. And so speaking from a person that may have not saying, let me speak to the entrepreneurs for right now. The entrepreneurs that have a website, but they really don't understand what you're talking about in regards to understanding the analytics of it. So what, in layman's terms, what is an analytic? What would they go to find an analytic?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So you've probably heard of Google Analytics, right? Which is the biggest, it's the most used tool. I mean, there are other tools, and I don't want to only say Google, but basically what you're doing is plugging into your website some software, which with users' permission, so we should say that because everybody's concerned about privacy. Now, and having said that, it's anonymous. So, you know, if I see you visiting my website, I'm not going, oh, Tina went to this page and this page and this page. I don't get your name. I don't get who you are. I might get where you're from. I would get things like what kind of are you on your mobile or are you on your desktop? You know, what kind of browser are you using? All of which helped me to figure out if my website works for you. But then what you can see is obviously how many visitors you get. Where do they come from? Which is important, because if you're spending money to get visitors to come to your website, like social media advertising or pay-per-click, or you're paying somebody to do search engine stuff for you, right? Or whatever it could be, you're spending a ton of your own effort on an email newsletter, right? What you can do is to start out by seeing which of those marketing tactics bring people to the site. And then from that, which of those marketing tactics bring the best people to the site? Because what you want to do is look at individual tracks of these things. So you want to say, are people who come from my email newsletter more useful visitors? In other words, they do more of what I want them to do on my website than, for example, somebody who just saw an ad on Instagram, right? And so that kind of information can be really helpful in helping you do your marketing. And then you want to know how your website's performing. So then you can see, what do they do? Where do they go? Like if you've got videos or podcasts like we're doing here, do they watch the video or the podcast? Do they start watching it and within like 10 seconds they're going, this is boring, I'm gone? That intro you just had, I can't imagine they're saying that on this podcast. But, you know, if you're busy making content and nobody is actually consuming your content, either because they can't find it or because they don't resonate with it, then that's important to know, right? Again, you're wasting time and money. And if you're selling things, so if you actually have an e-commerce kind of site where you're actually directly selling, you want to know which products are people looking at. Do they take a good look around the product? Do they read the reviews? Do they put the product in the shopping cart, right? And then obviously, do they actually buy what you're selling? And if not, why not? So you're really analyzing the whole, we call it the customer journey, right? The whole progress of the person through first finding you through whatever marketing you're doing, through figuring out, looking at your site, figuring out who you are, what they do, what you do, and if they trust you, which is really important. Right? And then do they do the thing that you want, which is buy your stuff, sign up for your newsletter, send you a lead in some way, watch your videos, etc. Right? And none of this information is stuff that you can know just by looking at the website. So that's why analytics is so important.
Yes, because you explained that very thoroughly, because many people, entrepreneurs, they're probably saying, well, why should we care about analytics, you know? But as you broke it down, why shouldn't we? Because this is really the matrix that help us understand what is working, what isn't working, what you should stop doing, what you should keep doing more of. Is basically giving you that information that you need in order to be more successful with your business, your client base, your podcast. And so what I find is that most people, whether they're a podcaster or an entrepreneur, they are not in them. And I love data. I say data equals dollars. And once you understand the data, the analytics, it holds the key to your operations and sustainable growth. And so with that being said, the one thing that I would say before I had grown to this appreciation, because I have not always been this liberal with this. I had to grow to this appreciation. I had to grow. The first thing I would say when I really looked at the back end of my website, the back end of maybe Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever like that, I saw all these numbers.
Right.
And I was like, whoosh. So where do you feel that they could like look at first that would be the simplest for them to understand? Because it's something, the terminology be like over the top of their head.
It's a great question, because absolutely, it's completely overwhelming. And I completely understand business owners who look at this stuff and they just glaze. I know when I'm speaking, you know, they'll glaze over, and I have to make it interesting, which hopefully I can do. You know, but yeah, no, absolutely. And so I think the key is not to just say, what are the metrics that I should be thinking about? But, you know, don't think that you have to look at everything at once, because that's actually no point in looking at everything at once. In fact, there's really only a point in looking at anything if you're going to do something about it. So the point, because otherwise you're just looking at numbers for the sake of it, right? So what is it you need to know? And so actually, before you look at any numbers, my advice is always, are you really familiar with your own website? So look at your website and look at all the places where people should be doing something. So, you know, in marketing, we call that a call to action, right? So on every page of your site, it should be saying, you know, watch this video, click here to sign up for the newsletter, right? Add this item to your shopping cart, check out, whatever it is that you want them to do on that page. And think about the places where you're concerned that what you want to happen might not be happening, or might not be happening enough. Because if you can come to the site with or to the analytics with those kind of questions, so you're going to solve a problem, or you're going to see if there's a problem. So you're going to dig into a specific aspect, because otherwise you're just going to look at the visitor numbers. Okay, the visitor numbers are better than last week, worse than last week, so what? Right. The key is to start drilling down. So you might say, I'm wondering if I'm getting the right visitors, right? So then the visitor numbers are better than last week, less than last week, but which are the best visitors? Can you figure that out? Because so it might be where they come from in terms of the way you got them to the site, your marketing tactic. It might be sometimes that you really appeal to a certain geographic location, especially if you're a business operating in a certain area, right? So how much of your traffic comes from the location in which you operate, and how much of it is from somewhere completely different that potentially you don't want to do any business with, right? So drilling down, you can call what we do what we call segmenting, which is you make groups. So in other words, where do you come from? Different locations. You can segment by device. So, you know, there's a lot of talk about how well does your website work on mobile as opposed to desktop. So you can compare those two visitors side by side and say, do the visitors who come in on desktop do more of what I want or less of what, you know, how does all that work? So the way to approach this is to be asking questions. When you have a question, you can look for an answer. If you're just looking at a whole row of graphs and charts and heaven knows what, you know, you're going to go into complete.
You know, I love the way you said, look at your website and the data as a way to solve a problem. If you have a CTA, which is call to action, like she said, and if it's not really working, do they even understand it's a call to action? You know, right. And then she talked about the difference between having a mobile device versus desktop. All right. So are they really over here on mobile more, or they're over here on desktop more? Understanding things like this and being able to solve the problem on how can I keep them on longer? What are they buying? What are they looking at? What pages are more active? What pages are not? You know, I think we get caught up in as entrepreneurs, and I used to be one of them, and I just put it on myself too before I learned better. But I do better now. We get caught up in this vanity of want to have the prettiest website. Oh, did you see my website? It got water flowing. It do, you know. And at the end of the day, water flowing on your website is not going to get you to your bottom line. Right. So sometimes we get so caught up in the aesthetics that we need to be caught up in the analytics. And so that's why I love what you do, because you're making those numbers make sense. And you're the only person that spoke about data analytics that made this so simple, because I speak to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And you made it so simple on the mindset that we need to have when we first look at the analytics and what we should be doing once we get there. They just tell you to go, you need to look at this, look at that, but they don't tell you how to do it once you look at it, right? And so,
can I say one other thing about mindset, just to what you're saying?
Please do.
So the other thing is that the big mistake that people make is everybody's interested in what we call the acquisition metrics, which is how you get people to the site, right? Which is what your marketing, your SEO, your advertising, your email, etc. And everybody's obviously interested in the end result, which is how much money do they make. And so a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking somebody should come to your website, they should take a look around, and then they should buy something, like boom. And you're going, I can see where you're already ahead of me, but it doesn't always work that way. In fact, it doesn't usually work that way, because people want to know, what is this site? Do I like it? I might think about it. What do they do? Are there other people that do it differently? They're going to think about it. Very few people come to the site and go boom, 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 buy. So it's not like when we go into the grocery store, and it's not often that we go to a grocery store and we come out and we haven't bought anything, because we know what we're looking for when we go in there. But websites aren't quite like that. Even Amazon isn't quite like that, right? And so what people forget when they're looking at these metrics is those pieces in the middle that we call behavior. Like, what do people do while they're just looking around on your site, trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out what you do, trying to figure out what you're about, right? You want to engage them, and you want to have them, if you have content, you want to have them looking at your content, right? You want to have them watching your videos or checking out different products. And so it's important to put those metrics into the mix as well, and not just focus, like I said, on the how do they get here and how much money did I make.
That is crucial, because like you say, traditionally, a person coming to your website for the first time, you got to remember that you are not Amazon, you are not Walmart, you are not all these different places that have this massive marketing budget that has built up a longevity of power buying, where we look at it automatically and trust it because we've seen it. You're a podcaster and or an entrepreneur that has to build trust and confidence. And they're going to look around. I mean, I don't buy from the first entrepreneur I see. I'm going to look around too. So you need to understand, like she said, the behavior of how the consumer think, and then think about how you do before you buy something from someone, right? And so most of us are focused on when they buy, how much the revenue, but I'm hearing what you're saying is what their main focus need to be on understanding how they came, which means whether they came through the newsletter, email, a paid ad, and then seeing what they do, how long they stay, and what they're looking at. And if you have a call to action on the page, then why didn't they follow through with the action?
Right.
And how many people did it? And so to me, analytics is, it's fun. Once I'm not as thorough as you by far, but as a business owner who used to do not anything with it to now understanding it, I realized that it's a hidden gem. It's really the hidden matrix to your sustainability, your growth, and your success. And it also helps you stop wasting time. Do you agree or disagree with that?
How could I disagree with that? It's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And stop wasting money. That's one of the things I talk about. Stop wasting money on stuff that isn't working.
And we do, because we saw this person do it, that person do it. And they say this work, this, that, but it's not working for you, and you hoping and that it's going to all of a sudden click and work, but it's already showing you it's not working. And so the thing is this, before I go in there, I need to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to have the topic. I don't even want to do the commercial right now because I want to keep talking, but I have to take the commercial and then we'll be right back in a moment, okay?
Hey Think Fam, it's your favorite host, Michael Finkley, and you can listen to us on CTR Media Network. Go listen in.
Ooh, and just like that, we are back. I told you it was going to be short because I'm going to get right back to this conversation. So make sure to go tune into the Michael Finkley Show here on CTR Media Network and all the other amazing podcasters that's on our platform. So for individuals who are hearing you speak about all of these different matrices, the hidden gems, how the mindset that we need to have on there. But say, for example, they're like, listen here. I hear what you're saying and I know I need to do it, but I don't want to do it. So is it really worth you hiring a consultant to help you understand the analytics?
Well, I mean, you can't expect me to say no to that, can you? That's what I do. No, but I mean, I know that as a consultant, you know, you said this in the intro, but it is actually true. You know, it is possible to find things where business owners can do something completely different with their business. I mean, beyond the sort of basics, what's working, what's not working, you know, we can start out by going in and answering questions that we know we already have. But beyond that, in my experience with clients, we've done things like find opportunities for brand new products or services or target markets that we didn't know about before. And so then you've got a whole new revenue stream, right, that you couldn't have known about otherwise. And it's based on what you can tell about your visitors or what they're looking for or things like that. We've also, I talked about wasting money, right? If you look at the analytics, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times social media advertising to me is a bit of a problem because a lot of the time those visitors are really not good visitors. In other words, they take one look and walk away. And it's honestly quite understandable. I mean, most people in social media aren't looking to solve their problems and needs right then, right? They're there to chat to people and watch cat videos and what have you, right? And so whereas somebody coming from an email newsletter or from a Google search is much more likely to be a good visitor because they already know you and they love you and they want to see more, or they're looking for something that you've got that they want to investigate. Right. So the money that you're spending on advertising, it's really important to keep your finger on it, unless you've got so much money you don't care. Right. But, you know, are you spending that money wisely? I've seen all sorts of examples of content where one of the things you can do in analytics is to see how far down a page people go. So now we see all these very long pages. Right. If you've got really important content at the bottom of a long page and people don't scroll that far, they're never going to see that content. And you aren't going to know that unless you're looking at the analytics to see that they can or can't see it. And so you can find out how many of my visitors see this really important content. And that's a really good clue to say if it's important and people aren't seeing it, you need to do something about that. Move it up, you know, do something else, put in a new call to action. Right. So again, you put all this resource into creating this content and now it's wasted because nobody's seeing it. So, you know, there are really good reasons to hire somebody who knows what they're looking for that can help you understand the things that you probably wouldn't understand if this is not what you do. And why should it be? You do what you do. Right. I could never create a podcast with your energy and, you know, you're asking some great questions. You know, you're doing what you do. We all need to do what we do, but and you don't have to hire somebody for the rest of your life. You don't have to, you know, you can get somebody to show you if you want to do stuff, you know, you can get somebody to show you how to do it and what to look for, or you can have somebody who checks in with you every quarter or every 6 months or whatever, and you just take a temperature check and just review what's going on. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but you do want to start out by understanding what you're doing. And if that means getting somebody in to help you, then, you know, I think, as I'm hoping to prove, it's a worthwhile investment.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I agree. But, you know, I noticed that some people may be confused a little bit when it comes down to website designers. And they may say, well, I hear that you do data and analytics and help break down everything, but I got a web designer. My web designer do that. Let's clear up the confusion in the room with what a website designer really do and what they don't do, because it's not the same thing. And so could you like let them know?
Well, and this is not to knock web designers. There are a lot of different skills that go into having a web presence, and a design is really important. I suck at design. I'm terrible. I can't design anything. So, that's not something I do. People who do search engine optimization, that's a different skill. People who are content creation experts, that's a different skill. And people who do what I do is another different skill. So it's really important to understand that this is not, it would be really, really unlikely that you would get somebody who can do everything that's involved really, really well. Social media experts, that's another skill, right? And you need somebody who is going to do more than we talked about earlier, the vanity metrics, right? Did I get more visitors this week than I did last week? Who cares unless you know more about whether those were the right visitors and what they're doing. So, there are, I don't want to knock agencies either, but there are agencies who say they do analytics, and that's what they do. They do the very basic stuff. They say, look, we're getting you more visitors because that proves that they're doing their job. But they're not going beyond that and doing the so what. Mm-hmm. So what's working, what's not working, and what are we going to do about it? Right. So yeah, don't expect your web designer to do this unless they really can, which is possible, but it's not usual.
Yes, and I don't want people to have false expectations, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, especially when you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything yourself, and then you're finally starting to build a team or enlist or delegate different things to other people, and you can have the misconception that a web designer generally does all these things because the analytics is on the website in which they build, like you automatically probably saying, well, you do it in the website, you need to do the analytics. And see, that is just simply not the case. And like you said, even if they do it, it's I'm not going to speak for them. I'm going to speak from personal experience. Even if they do it, it's on such a basic level that you could do that yourself. You could literally do that yourself, and you still won't have any more knowledge about what it's doing than the time when you first looked at it. Because what you do is not only do the matrix and all the different things and the analytics, but you also can explain it. You can walk you through on why this is not working, give you the numbers, the stacks, the things, and give a plan, a call of action, a strategy behind it. And that's just not what a web designer typically does. They create the website, but somebody else manage all that type of stuff. And that is where she comes in, because she is the one that giving you the nuts, the bolts, all the different things, the whole toolkit on how to do this. And it really is a language on itself. It's an art once you understand the matrix. And right now I notice there's so many different data policies around websites and analytics. And if you're part of other programs or whatever like that, you'll see they're asking you to do new policies, or no, click this because we had to upgrade or update our policies. And sometimes they can get a little scary. So should we be concerned about the data privacy around using web analytics right now?
So there are people who are absolutely concerned about it. And in Europe, which has stronger privacy laws than, for example, here in the US, there are certainly companies that don't want to use Google Analytics. So there are other alternatives because of privacy concerns. And I think essentially the concern is, look, this data is not your data. It's basically owned by Google, right? Google analytics is free unless you're a large enterprise business. But, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? So Google has all this information. Now, again, it's, as I said earlier, it's against the terms and conditions to include any personal identifiable data. So no names, no email addresses should be in that data. Sometimes it creeps in, which is, But so in theory, they don't know who you are, but there are people who are concerned that in practice, if they put together some of these great big AI farms they have, they could figure things out. I don't know. I personally, obviously, since it's what I do, feel that the benefit of using analytics and being able to do that is outweighs my privacy concerns. And I'm much more concerned, for example, about, all the hacking that's going on, and, credit card companies being hacked, and our medical providers being hacked, and that kind of stuff. So I think it's really up to individuals. And, every website should have a consent, what we call the consent mechanism, when it comes up and says, is it okay to track us? But as marketers, it's really, really helpful to have this data. And it's important to understand, by the way, for your listeners, that because of this, because there are people who say, no, please don't track me, and because there are browser extensions that immediately stop tracking and so on, whenever you're looking at your data in any analytics program, if you are not looking at all of your visitors, it's almost like 100% for sure, because people will block it. So this is not auditable numbers. This is not like, if it says you've got 100 visitors, you probably almost certainly got more than 100 visitors, right? This is not to tell you exactly how many people came. And it's also not, therefore, this is not your CRM. This is not your accounting system. And I have people coming to me and saying, look, my CRM is showing more transactions, like more purchases, than show up in my Google Analytics. Why is that? And the answer is because if they're blocking tracking, they won't show up. So your CRM data should be absolutely 100% correct, obviously. Otherwise, you've really got a problem. But your analytics is not your tool of choice for absolutely accurate sales information and stuff like that.
Okay, great. But I know personally, you need both. You need both. And so by having both, it gives you that full, I call it that full suit of armor, because yes, I turn off tracking on certain places that I'm on because they constantly do so many pop-ups. But I also know that when you have these numbers as a podcaster, as a entrepreneur, it actually helps create more opportunities for you, because when you want a sponsor, when you want to do a corporate deal, when you want to work with these are the things that they are going to ask for, especially if they're dropping some money. Like, okay, right, I want you to do this, but what is the analytics? So you thoroughly explained to us on today about what it is, what it isn't, and most importantly, the how, and when we should start considering hiring a person like you for the services. And I feel like it's just a smart move to have someone that really enjoys it, for number one, and understands it, for number two, because I don't thoroughly enjoy it like maybe you do, but I appreciate it. Right. Because now I understand why I need to know and how it helps. And that's why I appreciate it now. But before I was like, too many numbers, but now I'm like, ooh, okay. And so I really appreciate what you do in itself, and that you're a woman doing it. Okay. Yes, I said it. I love my men, but hold up.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. There are way more men in this field than there are women in my field too. And there are some women around, and I really appreciate all of them.
Yeah, because you see them, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're doing this, because I feel that I have worked with men, and everybody is good, men and women. But I found with the women that I have worked with, we have an emotional cue that miss with men, that you'll be women able to help women better to understand certain things, just because of how our makeup is, dealing with these numbers and different stuff like that. So you speak about 5 hidden digital analytic gems, and you actually took the time to create an ebook about it. So how can they get the book, the ebook, and where should they go? And how can they get connected with you?
Well, thank you for asking. And actually, I have really exciting news, which is that I actually have a book coming out in about 3 weeks. It's called Website Wealth, which is hopefully a good title. And so you can look out for that. So the 5 Hidden Gems is 5 stories. This is a free ebook, and it's 5 stories from my actual client experience where, as I said earlier, we found opportunities that we could never have known about without the analytics. And we did something very transformational in the business, whether in the business or to the website or whatever. But it's intended to be stories. So my book and this ebook are completely jargon free, right? Just like we've been talking today, aimed at the business owner. So to explain how to think about this stuff, what you can get from it, and so on, without a load of pie charts and graphs and stuff. There's none of that. And the 5 Hidden Gems is just 5 ideas that the goal is somebody to read it and say, I wonder if that's happening for me, or I wonder if I could use that idea and look at my own site or my own business. So my website is at websitesthatwin.com. And you can also easily find me on LinkedIn, because I think I'm the only person on the planet with my name. So, and you can get it from LinkedIn as well. And I love to connect to people on LinkedIn. So if anybody's listening, please go ahead and find me.
Love it, love it, love it. Is there anything else you would like to share with podcaster entrepreneurs that we may have not mentioned that you would like to say? You already told them what you want them to do to follow you on LinkedIn, but is there anything else you would like to say?
Well, yeah, check out the Hidden Gems. I also obviously offer a free discovery call. We can just chat for 30 minutes or so, and we can see what we can see. But if you haven't ever tried analytics, the good news is you can't break your website. It's not gonna do anything bad to your website. Just get it done, or get somebody like me to get it done, and just take a look. And I think you'll be amazed at what you can find.
I 1000% agree with you. I would tell you guys today to stop being afraid of what you don't know and start leaning into the things that make you afraid. Many times as podcasters and entrepreneurs, we have this dream that we want to make an impact with whatever it is that we're doing, and we don't know necessarily how to do it in regards to the back end. We always overlook that part. And what I have found is that is one of the most crucial parts, because I was guilty of that myself, not reading the analytics, not seeing it, but not understanding it, and allowing myself to develop this unnatural fear of the data. And what happened is that it held me back, and I would not grow, or I got to a point where I could not move. But when I shifted my mind, that's why I want you to contact her and get the ebook. When I shifted my mind and start really digging into it, I realized it was not my enemy. It was my friend. And once me and my friend start communicating, me and my friend helped me go get some more friends. The business started expanding. It had little babies. It started having another business. And so I need you guys to start. If you're a podcaster, you need to understand these numbers. You need to understand these analytics, because we do have websites as well with our podcast shows. If you are an entrepreneur and you're stagnant, you can't figure out what to do, it's because you're not understanding the data. And what I know is no match to what she knows. Okay, I need you to go talk to her, for the simple fact is this is what she do. This is what she does. And I need you to go over there. You don't have to do this stuff alone anymore. This is not the season to be doing stuff by yourself. This is not the season to try to do everything yourself and burn out. Let other people that's qualified delegate it to the people who know how to do it, and that want to see you win at the end of the day. And so analytics is your friend. If you're not using it, you need to rewatch this video, and you need to start following her on all social media platforms, whatever she's doing, and get that consultation call, discovery call, to see how she can actually help you understand and make those things work for you. So you'll stop wasting all this time and money. Because I wasted a lot of time and money for many years because of this. And thank you so much for what you do. And thank you so much for being a featured guest on our show today, because you have totally shifted our entire mind dealing with analytics, dealing with data, dealing with once we get there, what we should do. And most importantly, the questions we should ask ourselves, because I have never asked myself any of those questions. So this week, I'm going to go back in and ask myself some of these questions from this, what you just said. I was like, wait, because it's absolutely amazing, because now that you gave us the questions that can help us solve the problem. And so we didn't have that before. So I appreciate your transparency. And thank you for being the featured guest on our show. Make sure to follow her, like, follow, share, and subscribe. You have just been totally elevated with this interview, where she helped us unlock the hidden profits that is hiding right in your website. You so caught up in the exterior, you're not looking in the interior. And she's going to help you be able to make sure your interior looks as good as your outer exterior with your website, and how digital analytics can actually help you save or make you thousands once you understand what to do and how to do it. Make sure to go to CTR Media Network right now and download our app. You can watch our show and so many other shows that's on our network designed to help you grow. Our app is completely free. This is our way of giving back to you so that you will no longer be by yourself. Make sure, if these interviews that touch your heart, reach out to these featured guests on our show, as well as any other show that's on our platform, so that you can connect with these amazing, amazing guests. On that note, you guys have a great, amazing rest of your day. And we will see you next week, same time, same place. And this has been an amazing guest. So make sure to tune in, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Have you heard about Book Authority's best new podcasting book winner, which is Dr. Tina J. Ramsay, for her book, The Power of Podcasting, Unlocking Tips and Strategies for Podcasting Success. This book is your podcasting coach in a book. She is sharing so many strategies. This book reached #1 twice on Amazon for new release and best-selling book. So go ahead to ctrmedianetwork.com to purchase your copy today, or simply place your order on Amazon.com today and unleash the power of podcasting. CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.